Hey everyone, I wanted to say thank you so much for stopping by my Partner With Me page. This is the part where you learn a little bit about who I am, why I joined eXp, and really more importantly, why I continue to stay with eXp. All right, so a little bit about me. So my name's Johnny Noe, as you probably already know, and I was born in Michigan. I was born in a town by the name of Ypsilanti, Michigan. I got my bachelor's degree at Eastern Michigan University, and it was in business administration, more specifically entrepreneurship. I always had an entrepreneurial spirit and always wanted to start my own business or be in some type of field where I could express my entrepreneurial spirit. So when I finished college, I jumped right into my family's floor covering businesses. We had three floor covering stores. We had one in Ypsilanti, one near Ann Arbor, and one in Saline, Michigan. And it was great. It actually taught me a lot. It kind of put me right in the wheelhouse of being an entrepreneur, being able to talk to people about sales and everything that comes with that. Well, fast forward years later, in 1998, I decided to take on helping a software company launch in San Diego, California. So I packed everything up, moved to San Diego, and helped build a software company from the ground up. After a period of time, I quickly realized that I kind of abandoned my entrepreneurial spirit because I had always believed that when you work harder, you can make more money. But in this particular situation, this turned into just a simple job. So the harder I worked, the less time I had and no more money in my pocket. And that's kind of where real estate got its birth. So I decided that I was going to move to a town in California by the name of Temecula. And I got my real estate license and I joined a team that was extremely powerful. They did millions of dollars worth of sales, and I learned a lot from this particular company. So then I decided to move back down to San Diego, where the team was no longer. They're in Temecula. They weren't in San Diego. And I either had to join another team or go on my own. So I decided to go ahead and go on my own. I learned so much from that organization, so much from the agents in it, that I thought that this would be something that I wanted to do at this point. Now, I knew there would be challenges, but the challenges came. There was one major challenge that came from some place that I did not expect. And what that was getting my questions answered. In any transaction, in any changing market, you always have questions, they arise. And the only place that I knew to go at this point was my brokerage. I quickly realized that I couldn't get any help from them. And they were a big brokerage and they're still around today. And they're one of the larger brokerages out there. I would send emails, text messages, phone calls, and honestly, it was crickets. So out of the blue, I had a friend of mine that gave me a call that used to be in the real estate industry that was a very, very, very successful agent. He decided to pursue a different career at one point, a passion that he had, and then he came back to real estate. And he calls me up. He said, "Hey, Johnny, I hear you doing real estate, and I'd love to have you move over to my brokerage with my team." Well, I didn't care. I always thought all brokerages were the same. I always thought they were only good at three things: one, overpromising; two, undelivering; and three, taking money out of my account every single month right on time. I kind of likened them to the mafia, where just I wouldn't hear from them at all, but once a month they come knocking on my door and say, "Hey, you owe us money," and that's all I really got. So the reason that I agreed to join him at his brokerage because I was totally doing it for selfish reasons. I was going to finally, I was like, oh my gosh, I got a friend of mine now. I can give him a call and he'll answer my questions. And I know he won't not take my call. So I did it really for selfish reasons. So I'll give you one guess as to what brokerage that was. eXp. So as I went through the onboarding process with eXp, now I'm not a cliche guy. I never have been. I never will be. I hate all the things when people say game changer. I hate all these cliches out there. But I will say, when I was onboarding with eXp, my jaw hit the ground. From signing up for my enterprise to looking at what all they offered me, from a CRM through kvCORE, my stock options, all of the trainings that they had every single day, every single week, with even revenue share, with all of the programs that they had put in place to help me be a successful real estate agent. I thought at this point in time, oh, and eXp World. eXp world was crazy. And I could go straight to my state brokerage in eXp, sit right down in a chair and ask my broker a question. And honestly, I have been to my state brokerage only 3 times through eXp World, and I have never waited any more than 3 minutes to get my questions answered. I knew right then and there that I would not need my friend to answer any questions for me with eXp. So the first thing I did is I decided that I was going to jump right into some of the trainings. Okay. The first training I did was by an icon agent. Now, if I don't know if you know anything about icon agents. If you don't, they are kind of a big deal. They are top producers. So this icon agent, eXp has their icon agents train people in eXp how they got to be an icon agent and maybe the niche they are in. And he got to be an icon agent through open houses. So I went ahead and I attended his meeting. I signed up for my little avatar in eXp World, sat down in this big auditorium. By the way, just to let you know, I thought the whole eXp World, when I first got into eXp, I thought, what in the world am I, what am I looking at here? This is insane. I created my little avatar to look like me. And then I attended his meeting. I sat down in this big auditorium with all these other little avatars. And he's a little avatar standing up there with 3 big giant boards that I could then see his presentation. And I quickly realized, hey, this is pretty cool. So I sat down with my little avatar and I listened to his meeting. And the way that he did open houses to become an icon agent, once again, a cliche, blew my mind. It was so different than what I was actually doing to try to get business through open houses. He had a separate table that he purchased, an apron to make himself look professional, unbelievable amount of literature that he would put on that table relevant to the house, the area, and everything that he needed to be able to sell that property or obviously get leads from this. Meanwhile, I am taking all these little screenshots and all these things in this literature that he had put on there, listening to him talk about the things that you need to talk about, how you need to stand, where you need to have your final meetup with them, and how to schedule a meeting after they're there. Unbelievable information. And so, like I said, I was taking all these snapshots. And at the very end of this presentation, he puts a link to every single piece of literature that he displayed for us to be able to download, make them our own, brand them with ourselves, and use them at our open houses. I couldn't believe this. So I did this. Sure enough, went out, bought a table, the apron, told us where to get everything, rebranded all the literature. And my first open house that I did after that, after that meeting, turned into a GCI for me, a take home check of a little over $53,000. It made me look like such a professional agent that uh, it was just convincing for people to use me as their agent. In my life, I've read a lot of books, and I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, successful people leave clues. But successful people at eXp, they don't just leave clues, they give you the entire blueprint. The next thing I decided to do was jump in to see what this thing called a CRM was, customer relationship management. If I were to tell you that I had an employee that wanted work, what they would do for you is they would be your personal assistant. They would create you a website for home searches and they would host this for free. They would then communicate with every single person that went on your site and registered for your site. They would communicate with them, send them emails, follow up with them with text messages. And they did all of this work for you. They worked 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They never called in sick. They never took a vacation day. You never had to pay them overtime. And they only charged you $85 a month or $1,020 a year. Would you hire them? Yeah. Yeah, you would. That's what a CRM does. That's what kvCORE does. kvCORE has a back end and kvCORE has a front end. The front end is your website. So they create for you an absolutely beautiful web page for people to go to be able to search for property. As people are searching for homes on your website, eventually it pops up a little message that says, hey, would you like to register for my site? Won't let them look at any more properties until they register. The beautiful part about this registration is is it'll allow them to register about three different ways. One, put in their email and phone number, or two, just register with your Google account or your Facebook account. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll register with my Facebook account because they don't want to give you their information. But little do they know, Google and Facebook already has their information. When they register for your site, their information goes right into the back end of kvCORE. And that is where all of your leads are, whether it's a buyer or seller, sphere of influence. And then once they register for your site, kvCORE starts to create for them a campaign, a buyer's campaign, where it texts them, it emails them, and it just communicates to them as you. So you're always top of mind to your buyer or seller or sphere of influence. Here's the great part. It's also watching what they're doing on your website. And it thinks, okay, all of a sudden it has enough information where it can now create for them a home search campaign. So let me kind of give you an example of how this worked for me. eXp also has a campaign that works with kvCORE. What it does is this. So I paid $250 a month for 3 months. So I think that works out to what, $750? So that when people would go to the internet and they search for homes in their area, this campaign called Make It Rain makes sure that my name comes up in the top of their Google search. Not only that, they advertise my information all over social media. So I am in front of people as an agent in the area that they're looking for homes. So here's what happened with me. Now, the reason I say 85, let me get this out right now, because eXp charges an $85 a month fee every single month to be for eXp to be your broker. But in that, they give you this assistant, this CRM that works for you day and night, kind of like that assistant that I said will work for you. Would you pay someone $1,020 a year? Well, that's what kvCORE is. So when I set up this Make It Rain campaign, my name was at the top of the list. I'll tell you about just one experience. I've had several experiences with this campaign, but I'll tell you the first one. The individual was receiving information. They were searching on my site. kvCORE picked them up. It sent them an email. I was at dinner when kvCORE picked them up and they registered for my site. And it sent me a message that said, someone has registered for your site. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to reach out to them. But then I looked and I went to my kvCORE and I saw that it already emailed them. Hey, thank you so much for visiting my site, blah, blah, blah. And it already sent them a text message. And I thought, well, I'll just keep having dinner. That already reached out to this individual. And so I think that's great. So this individual finally starts getting home campaign searches and it finally sent them one that they liked. Meanwhile, I haven't done a thing. I haven't done anything. And so it finally got an email back and that said, yes, I would love to see this property you sent. So I called them on the phone and they acted as if they already knew me. So I drove to where the property was, met them. They put an offer in on it and we got the offer accepted. So my check at the end of that transaction was right around $7,500, a little bit over. And once I paid for my Make It Rain campaign, it was a little over $6,000. Now, if you think about that, eXp is $85 a month and it pays for my kvCORE in that 85. That one campaign that it did all on its own paid for over 6 years of my eXp $85 a month. Warren Buffett said, if you can't figure out how to make money while you're sleeping, you will work until you die. kvCORE is one way to figure out how to make money while you're sleeping. I had a college professor one time look at me and he said, hey, Johnny, you know how to always make sure your business is at its most profitable? Well, I was all ears. And I was like, yeah, sure. Let me know. What is it? He looked at me and he said, always keep your business at a level, running at a level at which it's its most profitable. Now think about that for a minute. As real estate agents, we're always telling home sellers, hey, and they're always looking at us and how can I make sure that I get the most amount of money out of my home? And we put on our entrepreneurial big hats and we say, well, let me help you. You need to do this, you need to repair this, you need to do this, and take all these pictures down. And we tell people what they can do. We need to stage your home. We tell them all the ways that they can make their home more profitable. But then we go right back to our business and we do not take the same advice that we give our clients. Is your brokerage depending upon you for your success, or can you depend upon your brokerage for your success? That's a question you need to ask yourself. And it's important to evaluate your business from all angles. And the first place I would suggest is to look at your brokerage. eXp, take this with you. eXp understands that being successful also starts with you. And it's really interesting. Some of the first things that eXp taught me to say was this: when people ask you what you do, stop telling them that you're a realtor. Somehow, for me, that never felt good. I don't know why. And sometimes with people, that doesn't feel good to them. Like, oh, okay, you're a realtor. Stop doing that. You need to start telling people when they ask you, what do you do for a living? You need to start looking at them and saying, I run a real estate business. You see, you're an entrepreneur. You went out, got your license, you took matters in your own hands, and you said, if I work hard, I want to make money. And you decided to go into business for yourself. You run a real estate business. Now, act like an entrepreneur. Don't be a wantrepreneur. Act like an entrepreneur, and you need to evaluate your business from beginning to end and start with your brokerage. So, how do we do this? How do we evaluate our brokerage? Well, I'm going to ask you a question. Does your brokerage only offer you one way to make money, and that's through selling homes? Do they offer you other sources of income, what I like to call passive income? See, you're an entrepreneur. I'm assuming that you have a millionaire mindset. And I don't know if you knew this, but millionaires have typically 6 ways, 6 sources of income that come into their wealth, but they only trade their time for one. So they have 5 other ways of incomes coming in, but passively. Does your brokerage offer you the ability to generate passive income? eXp does. So when I first started looking into eXp, they offer me 3 streams of income. One of them through selling real estate, which is what I trade my time for. The second one is through stock. And the third one is through revenue share. All right, let's talk about the stock a little bit. As I continue to sell homes with eXp, the first home that I sell every year after my anniversary date of joining eXp, they give me $200 worth of stock. So I'm already just doing my work, trading my time for selling real estate, but then income is coming in because of that through stock options. And that stock can continue to pay over and over again, especially if it increases in value. The second way I can receive stock, and this isn't going to be in any particular order, if I hit my cap, and eXp has a $16,000 cap. If you hit your cap, eXp gives you stock. If you introduce the company to another agent, and after their first sale, the company gives you stock. And if you become an icon agent, by hitting certain levels at the company, they will give you $16,000 worth of stock, your cap back. Now, let's talk about the second way for passive income. That is called revenue share. So, what revenue share is this? So, let's talk about this in a different way. Let's say by the end of the year, you wanted to be able to generate and do something to be able to generate $1,000 a month that continues to pay you over and over again. How would you do that? And this is passive income. You don't trade your time for this. So, you need to do something in a 1 year period to be able to generate for you $1,000 a month. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to be able to get $1,000 a month to come in? So, one way to do it is at the end of the year, save up $240,000 and put that in a high interest yielding bank account of 5%. You're not allowed to touch the $240,000, and 5% will give you $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year. Okay, so there's one way to get your passive income of $1,000 a month. Or the second way is if you introduced eXp to 3 top agents with bonuses and everything, you can actually receive up to $12,000 a year through revenue share. I'll explain revenue share in just a moment. But if you introduce the company to 3 top earning agents, you can receive up to $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month. So what would be easier in a 1 year period to enter to save $240,000 and put it in a bank account at 5% interest, or introduce the company to 3 top agents? Well, it's a no-brainer. Introducing the company to 3 agents is much easier. Now, let's talk about what this revenue share is. eXp has an 80-20 split. That means every time you do a transaction, eXp gets 20% of the transaction until you hit $16,000. Once you hit $16,000, they do not take the 80-20 split. They don't take the 20 split anymore. You get 100%. Of that 20%, of that 20%, EXP takes 50% of that and gives it back to the agents that bring people to the company. So with those three people, of the 20% that EXP has gets out of the transactions, you get paid out of that 20%. So you don't get paid by taking any money out of the agent's hands. You get paid by the split that EXP has. And that can translate to with three top agents, that can translate all the way up to 12,000 a year. And the beautiful part is you don't actually have to stop at three. So I'm going to close with this. This is your opportunity to become business partners with me, and honestly, it's my opportunity to become business partners with you. Now, if you noticed on my partner with me page here, it says Johnny No at Team GoGo with EXP. And you're probably wondering what this Team GoGo is. Team GoGo is a group of agents within EXP. We are kind of business siblings, okay? And we grow together, learn together, and celebrate together. Nobody owes anybody anything, but we're part of one big organization in EXP. We have our own training calendar. We have our own boot camps. We have our own Google Drive with tons of information to help you to be a better agent. And when you partner with me, you're also part of that entire group. It's a very powerful group. Now, within EXP, our organization is private. So if you're not part of Team GoGo, it's not available to you. Now, if you're curious what the meetings look like and what the group is, I can invite you to two different meetings. One of them is a meeting that we have the last Wednesday of every month. And another one is every single Monday. We do a training on moving forward in your real estate career. Both are very, very powerful meetings. So I'm going to end simply by saying, schedule an appointment with me on the button that I have all over my webpage called, I think it says schedule an appointment with me. I want you to know one thing, and I want you to think very, very clear. I am not a salesperson. Never have been, never will be. I consider myself an informer and an educator. When I don't consider myself a salesperson, it gives me relief because, like I said, all I really want to do is teach people about EXP and be able to answer all the questions they might have. And also knowing that I'm not a salesperson, when you schedule this meeting with me, understand that I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to give you all of the information that you need in order to be able to make an educated decision to determine whether or not EXP is a fit for you, like it has been for thousands and thousands of agents all over the world. Until then, keep working hard and God bless.